Well, hello everyone. I think Brad will be joining me here in a minute. You guys wanted a stream, so here we are. Hey Rex, Danae, Grayson, Darren, Philip, Jeremy, Kimberly, welcome to the stream. Robert, Stuffy, and JNDS. Good to see everyone. I talked to Brian for a few minutes after the stream. We were talking about our queens that are coming. It's going to be a lot of work in the next little bit for me. I even got, look at that tan line on my bald head. Todd, come on in, Todd. The link is pinned. Brian, come on in. We got plenty of room. We need to get this thing going because it's not going to be no midnight chat, I don't think. It might be, but never know. No dead air. That's right. Hey, Edward, Matthew, good to see. You're on PTO. Good to see you. Look at there's a room of bee supplies, and there's Todd. Jason's out walking around. There he is. He's got to make the dramatic entrance for effect.
I'm trying to get work done, Bob.
Well, you didn't have to jump in. We appreciate it for sure. And there's Todd. Todd, what's going on, man?
Selling honey. That's it.
That's a good thing, though.
Yeah.
Don't do you any good in the bucket in the storeroom, does it?
Nope.
Got to get rid of it. That's it.
Yep.
So Jeremy said all of his stuff will officially be sold on Saturday.
Oh wow.
And I've got a lot of work ahead of me the next couple days. You know, I was worried about having room for 50 queens, and then Jose says, "Oh yeah, Bob, I put 4 extras in the box for you." I'm like, "Oh, gee, thanks, Jose. Appreciate you, buddy."
I called him last night and I talked to him and I said, "Hey, I heard you had a pretty good day yesterday." And he started laughing. And then I said, "Well, how many do you have left? Because I'm thinking about, getting some more. And because I want to get a stock again. I want to get it refreshed." And he started telling me about this one breeder queen. And I said, "Yes, please. Can I have some of those?" And he said, "Just let me know." So my problem is I have to go find the brood first. Make sure I have enough.
Well, that's what I was doing today, right? So I was putting all the brood in a top box over a queen excluder and putting it back on, letting the bees come up to it.
Yeah.
So, Jason might know how to do this better than I do because I've only done mine. And all I did was for Googling your business, to locating your business on Google or setting it up, Jason. Is there you just type in the name of your apiary and then it'll ask you, is this your business? And yes, it is. And you start putting the details in.
Well, it's how you fall. Yeah. So if you have to have a name like an LLC or a name that's registered against an address, to claim it. I believe. I think there's other ways to do it too. I'm looking now to see if I can kind of go out here and just type Google, and I'm going to type in just like Walker Bee Ranch.
That was the same time. I want to know what happened.
Yeah, see, yours comes up too, Bob.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did mine a few years ago. So you just Google the name and it pops up, and you can type in. It'll ask you, "Is this your business?" and claim your business. I think when you first start. Or
well, it doesn't always pop up. It doesn't. It only pops up if it's an address associated to it somehow. Because like if I go to Google and I put like another name in, like let's just put Loma Vista Bee Company, Loma Vista Bee.
It's not registered yet.
Yeah, so it's not shown as a claimable address.
But I could always.
If you have an LLC set up with an address associated to it, that would pop in Google. Yeah.
I wonder if I don't know how mine got there. I don't know if it's when I registered with the Department of Agriculture or what, but I've had it on there for a long time. and I'm not sure. I don't remember. I said it one time. Let me see. Google.
So Jeremy says you could just set it up on your home address. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, this is my home address, and it's my apiary.
Yeah,
as well.
so like if you just put your address out there, I think you can claim it that way too.
Even without an LLC?
I think, yeah.
I don't have an LLC.
Well, I
So-
went out to Google and just did that, and it doesn't allow me to claim
So
it anyway.
I went in the Google search bar and typed Google My Business, and then
Okay.
there's Google Business Profile. Get listed on Google. List
There
your
you go.
business on Google with a free business profile.
So you probably have to register your business as a business and with an address, and then give it some time, and it'll pop up. And then they send you a little card in the mail that has a little code in order for you to claim it or verify it's you, so you can start to edit things on it, like if you have a description, pictures, all that stuff you can add.
And, you know, because my YouTube name is the same as my apiary name, like you said, Jason, when you go to it, it shows your YouTube information. Like, well, if I Google Walker Bee Ranch, it comes up somewhat.
It doesn't come up brownfish or what was
Brown
it?
starfish.
Starfish.
Brownstarfish.com? No, huh? So, like, let's see. Oh, sorry, wrong one. Share that one and add that to stream. So then, you know, it's got my Facebook, my YouTube. Got this over here with the location of it. Actually, this is an old picture because it doesn't have all my trash and beehives out here. But yeah, got the address. You put business hours, phone number in it. So usually I can even put something like, well, let's do something easy. Be near me. Well, if I could spell. Well, I misspelled it, and it still came up with me as the top one, and then Mr. Sam as the second one. So it's got us on the map, right? This is how far we live from each other by map. It's not very far. So if we had an apiary right here in the middle, it'd be great for queen rearing, right? Because it's like right in the middle of both of us. But yeah, it works out pretty good when you get that set up. Almost left studio. Didn't want to do that. But
So that would be the first step for me, right? Go on to Google.
Yeah,
Business.
register your business with Google. And when you put that address in, it'll put that little pinpoint on the map where you're located. And then when people search, you know, beekeepers or honey or, well, I don't know. I think correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, but doesn't you have an option when you put in that business, you could put what you do and what services. So you could put like honey, bee removal, whatever. And then when someone types that keyword in and it's near them, you're going to pop up. And then you get all your friends on the YouTube right here to go and leave you a review and get your rating up, and then you're good to go.
Okay. Yeah, I need to do it.
And I even get random calls from hey, I Googled and I was wondering if you had any queens. Oh, well, okay, you know, or nukes or whatever could call you for that as well. But yeah. So what kind of work you getting done over there, Jason?
Oh man, I'm doing tons of things. I'm just trying to keep balance the regular work versus the, you know, it's always doing something. And I got hives that I've got to get through, and you know, the normal stuff, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the biggest challenge. Last year, this time of year, I didn't have a job, right? My job was Ubering when I wasn't beekeeping. So I would literally go out and Uber like Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday. And that would be all I would work during the week. The rest of the time I would spend it working my bees and, you know, selling honey and whatnot. And in October, I started the job. And now that block of time when I was taking care of my bees, now it's oh, I get an hour or two in the evenings that I can take care of those. And now I went crazy and ordered 50 queens, and now I'm jumping through hoops trying to get. You didn't hear that, Jason, when you came in? I got 50 queens coming, and I'm like, man, I got to figure out what I'm going to do with
these.
Them
from
Jose.
Okay.
And so then he calls me up. Hey, Bob, I just want to let you know, we had some extra of the black Kearney queens, and I'm like, oh, cool. He's like, I'm gonna send you some of those, and I put 4 extra in there, so now I got 54 queens coming, and I'm like, okay, thanks, Jose. I appreciate it. So we're gonna be.
You doing this late? Are you doing little 3-framer splits or full 5 nukes?
What I'm doing right now is I'm moving all the nukes that are packed right now into 10 framers with drawn comb. And then I'm splitting back to 2 and 5 framers with. Right now, the idea is, and when we have these plans and we go out to the apiary, they sometimes change. But the idea was to take my queens that are in my existing colonies and move them to the nukes as zombie colonies. They're proven layers, right? They're already established. Shouldn't be too hard to do that. And then introduce the queens that Jose's bringing me to my production colonies. He's not bringing me. UPS is bringing me from Jose. That's the plan right now. But I've already lost over the last month 5 colonies, strong colonies, and 2 to hive beetles and wax moths. Now
hive beetles just got bad around here.
Did you guys have a lot of rain this summer?
Yeah, so the temperatures, when they stay above like 85 and 90 and you have rain and it's a dearth and you have weak hives, I mean, the beetles are just insane this year. Insane.
Well, for the first time in about a month, I actually saw fresh pollen coming into the colonies today. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking that we're starting to get that beginning of the fall flow, right? So that it should play out. The only thing I'm worried about is that because they have, our bees don't go broodless down here. They've got,
they don't mind them either.
They've got about 3 months of laying, which could.
Yeah, but she lays less every day. I mean, as you get closer to the winter solstice, so she's slowing down inherently, no matter what. They don't go broodless, but. And so, I saw early goldenrod, non-nectar goldenrod yesterday.
Well, what I'm worried about is that they'll outgrow the 2 framers. So what'll end up happening is if this is an assumption, if they outgrow the 2 framer, hopefully my 5 framers outgrow the 5 framers because I've got 10 frame equipment I can put them in. Right.
When I do splits after August 1st into 5-frame nukes, I'm never graduating anything into a 10-framer. I'll let them bulk up into that nuke and double stack the nuke, even if they need room. I won't single deep the 10. They don't, for some reason, and as you get to like around here, and it's different for you, I know you're further south, but for me, that cluster wants to go up instead of going out. They don't like to manage the out in a new hive for some reason. And so I've always had better success for late season splits, really any split, doing 5 over 5. I'm just worried about your 2 framers introducing a new queen, and they're mated, so that's a good thing, but you're still talking 7 to 14 days before you feel comfortable that they took.
Right.
And then you've got 21 days to their, start build back, bees.
Well,
I don't know. I think you might have some risk on the 2 framers. If you make good solid nukes, 5-frame nukes, even 4, like a solid frame of honey, an empty frame of drawn comb if you have it, and then 2 or 3 frames of brood, and then introduce a queen in that's a decent split this time of year. You would do all right with all those.
Well, I mean, I've got 50 colonies, so technically I could split them. But the problem is if I split the 10 framer too weak, now it's going to have a problem, right? So, but I think I'll be all right. If I don't, it's about the real estate, right? So even if they're in a 5-frame box, if they've got enough bees to cover the frames that they're on and not extra comb that they have to deal with, if they can build that comb out as they need it, and I
They
can
won't
keep
draw this late though.
right.
They will, but not like you want it.
I found out last year they will on 1 to 3. They'll draw out really good if they're a strong colony.
If they're strong in so Todd, like you're saying, if they're strong in like a 3-framer or something like that.
I did it on a double deep.
You drew comb on double deeps with what? What were you feeding them? Were you feeding them like Mountain Dew or something?
No, just straight 1 to 3.
And Apis?
No, this was before Apis.
Oh, really?
This was last August, and it was Bob Binney's recipe, the 1 part sugar, 3 parts water.
Right.
And real super.
Because they can consume it so fast, and it's carbs, like 100% carbs, and they're just turning that over to what they need, which is comb.
Yeah.
So that's not bad. I've never thought of doing a 1 to 3 to draw comb late in this. I'll have to try that, Todd. I'm gonna try that.
Yeah, it works.
Well, that's what my open feed was. It was like really less than that. It was probably about 10% sugar, right? I mean, it was like water with a sugar cube in it.
And what I did was bucket feed them. I didn't leave it out, open feed or anything. I gave everybody sugar, but that one particular hive that was pretty strong, I gave them 1 to 3 just to experiment, and they drew out a whole box for me, and I was like, wow, okay. And it was late on.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna what I'll do is I've got for my big colonies, as I'm stealing a frame of brood, I'm gonna condense them and drop the feeder into the tent in the bottom box, right? So they have less space to manage. They've got feed. Right now we have pollen coming in. I like using pollen patties, but yeah, here it's a death sentence on a colony.
I won't put more than a little 2-inch by 2-inch square of pollen patties. I'll put like 2 or 3 of them in there. Like I'll take a pollen patty and cut it up into like 8 pieces, 1 pound pollen patty, and I'll put like 2 or 3 pieces in the center of where the concentration is right now.
I kind of knocked off Hive. No, I'm not kind of. I did knock off Hive Alive. What I did is I took a sandwich bag and I put the pollen patty in there and smashed it and ziplocked it and then just scored it to where the bees could chew it out. And the thing was that I noticed last year that if it did get hive beetle larvae in it, they were stuck in that baggie. I could pull the whole baggie off, larvae and everything, throw it in the freezer, kill all the larvae, and take them out that way. But I did that early in the season, but I haven't done it since. So
I actually tried that crushed powdered peppermint.
Right.
So peppermint candies that are crushed up into like a powder. And I was taking the pollen patty, mixed it with a little water, and then dabbing it into the crushed powder. Not the peppermints, but the crushed.
Right.
That's that, but crushed and pulverized into a powder. And so I was literally just taking the patties, dipping it in water, and then dipping it into that. Not big patties, like little squares.
Just stick to it.
Yep. And so it was basically coated in the peppermint, and it kept the beetles away.
Hey,
I mean, I still had beetles. It just they didn't lay inside the patty. Yeah.
Just to answer a couple of questions that came up, how many gallons did I feed for that to take? It was less than 2 gallons. It was that they used it efficiently, but again, it might have been a one-off. But they did draw, and I run 8s, so they made 8 solid frames or drew it out. It was, I think, on that particular hive, it was just 2 gallons of 1 to 3.
I'm going to try that. I'll take I just made a split. I can make another couple splits and draw, just to see how they do it and instead of putting drawn comb in there, I'll put a couple frames of foundation and see if they draw it.
throw some feed to them.
And it's Bob Binney's video on. It was a two-parter. It was feeding, how he feeds his bees, and he gave out different recipes and stuff like that. So,
Oh yeah, they say
not different recipes, but different strengths.
the 2 gallons all at once. That's what Philip said.
One at a time. Yeah, 10. Yeah, 1 gallon at a time. I just went around, just checked like a week later, and it was gone.
Little 1 gallon bucket feeders, right, Todd?
Correct. Yeah, I got them from Greg.
That's what I use.
The right now I've got a hodgepodge of feeders, so it's it's a challenge to be consistent, right? Because as you grow, things that were like when you have 5 hives, well, Boardman feeder's probably okay, right? Then you get 25 hives, you're like, yeah, I can't put Boardman feeders on all these colonies. Now it's like, oh, okay, we'll get some frame feeders. And then now you got 50 colonies, like, well, now I need bucket feeders, you know? So it's just constant.
I've never put a boredom feeder in any of my hives. I think I throw them in the trash when I bought kits with that in it, because they just induce robbing in my area. So, I mean, I have and that's maybe because it's the amount of hives I have.
Well, you will actually see hive beetle larvae in the bottom of the Boardman feeder.
Yep.
And then they leak, and when they leak, then it's dripping out of the wood on the bottom, and then you got bees from other colonies hanging on there drinking that up, and you know.
I've never had success with it. Now, I could take a 1 gallon bucket on pallets with, migratory covers with holes in them, and walk along and flip a bucket, spill some syrup, and say la vie, it gets cleaned up. I've never had issues with robbing, never had issues with it. Just seems that for some reason when I use those boredom feeders, I use inner frame feeders and buckets. That's how I feed.
When I see
now I have all the Apame, so I'm top feeding as well. So I take that back. The Apame has the top feeder, so I just started using those.
When I see robbing in my yard, it's typically they're robbing because that colony's gotten weak, and 9 times out of 10 I'll open it up and there'll be either a beetle issue or a moth issue or something like that. And once they start, I mean, by the time I see it with the working, it's like I might as well just pop the top and let the sun get to the frames. So, that's
if
usually.
I see moths in hive, that hive was long gone if there's moths in there.
So
but I tell you, the beetles, they can flip a hive in 3-4 days. Like, it's crazy. Yeah.
And I envy people that don't have beetles.
Yeah.
I wish they would come up with something. I mean, the peppermint works as a deterrent, but it's kind of a hassle when you're doing it on scale. A few colonies, it's no problem to throw some peppermints in there, but when you start having to do, bunches, and then everyone's like, well, hive beetles, you need to take the torch out there. I would have to bring a U-Haul truck full of equipment every time I'm out there for every situation. And my thing was, and I made a commitment to myself that I wasn't going to throw good resources to bad colonies. So if they were weak coming into the fall, I just let them, if they sink or swim. If they died, they died. If they made it, they made it. But it wasn't
my mentor told me that when I first started beekeeping. That's the first thing he told me. He said, too many people coddle their bees. Too many people try to save a dying hive.
Yeah.
You're better off pinching and merging, moving on, letting it do. Let the weak die and the strong survive. He said, if you continue to coddle your bees, you're going to have a weak apiary. And he's right. He's right.
Well, the thing is, you're weakening a good colony to give it to a colony. My thought was, if they are not at strength after a full honey flow, a full season, right? If they couldn't do it on their own, there's nothing I can do that's going to make them make it through the winter. So I'd rather lose them now, free up my equipment, preserve any comb I could, and and work it out that way. Let me see.
Yeah.
Hey, going back to that 1 to 3 thing, I seem to remember that that's not why Bob put that out there for trying to draw comb in August. It's just that he said that he sees his bees draw better, or not draw better, but he said he sees bees draw comb on that string. And so I thought, well, what the heck? Why don't I try it now on a strung colony, see what happens? And that's what happened. So.
Well, last year, all year round, even through the winter, I had open feed. If they were flying, if I saw my bees flying, I put feed out for them 1-to-1. And people are like, oh, you're going to get moisture in the colony. And I'm like, my bees fly every day.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen is they're going to, especially with the Italians, right? They're going to burn through that honey store that they've got in there or whatever feed they've got. And you're going to end up feeding them anyway if you're going to keep them alive. So I put it out there, let them get it if they want it. Obviously, they're going to bring it back. They're probably going to be hungry. They're going to eat it. They're not going to store much of it, but it's just for them to use as another method.
The other thing that I saw today that I haven't seen anybody talk about, which is kind of surprising, is what Cayman put out about that murder hornet cousin found in Georgia.
We talked about it a little bit last night,
Oh,
but we're in the South. We're going to get all that crap, everything, right?
Yeah.
So it's I don't know geographically as far as longitude and latitudes. Are we about the same? Or are you further north than me? Let me see. Distance to Clovis, California.
If anything, I might be just a little higher than you.
Yeah, you are. You're actually right along like the Kentucky, Tennessee line, North Carolina, Virginia. So I'm a little bit north of where like San Diego would be on parallels. A little bit north of Dallas type of deal.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it's only a 37-hour drive from me to you.
All right. Hey, can you pick me up for the conference?
Right. Yep.
Right.
A week out, week back.
Yeah. On the way there, though.
Well, you look at good old James there. He drove 18 hours each way to go see Brad and Ian. So, that's a weekend drive for him.
He's a road warrior.
He can do it.
Hey, you guys when I was delivering honey, you guys were talking about, Brian was saying stuff about those Scoville units or Scoville units.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I might be wrong, but I think my highest unit that I could survive at would be 2. Maybe, and that might be pushing it.
Well, a jalapeno is 700,000 Scoville.
Oh, okay.
If you can eat a jalapeno, then you can get at least to 700,000 Scoville.
Here's my limit. The wax peppers at Subway are about as high as I could go.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Oh yeah.
But I can't. I sprinkle Tabasco in my eggs, so I don't know if that's a higher rating.
Tabasco, yeah, Tabasco is a. Oh, geez, what is that? That's a habanero, I believe.
Gonna be jalapeno business.
But yeah, I can't take hot stuff.
Oh, that's what we need to do, Jason. We need to brand us a small bottle of insanely hot honey, and then just get these TikTokers to start doing the.
Yeah, man.
Start doing.
Did you see what we're talking about over here? The creamed Reaper.
The creamed Reaper.
Cream the Reaper.
Don't cream the Reaper.
Oh man.
The creamed Reaper challenge.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a good morning the next morning. I can tell you that.
Because you could sit there with a cream machine. It's stainless, I guess, and you could cream the honey and just sprinkle some of that powder in, and crumple up a couple of those Reapers in there, and just let it churn for a while. That would be an insane challenge.
I would be sitting on a block of ice the next
Yeah,
morning.
because if you put "Don't Fear the Reaper," isn't that a song, right?
Yeah, don't fear the Reaper. It's don't cream the Reaper.
Don't cream the Reaper.
That's a good one.
That's it. Oh, I said one to my nephew, and he said no. I said the insane clown saucy.
The insane clown saucy. Anyway. Hey, Bob, I got to jump off here. I'm getting tired and exhausted.
All right, man. You have a good night. I think Brad was talking about coming in, but I haven't seen him yet.
I think so, yeah. He said he had to call something. I saw earlier, way up earlier. I think he pinged. I thought he did. And then I don't think I saw him come in, so I don't know.
Well, I haven't seen him pop in the back there yet.
Maybe not.
But we need Brian to come. Brian's a wealth of information. He got that new he got the licensed creamer attachment for his bottling tank. And he said that thing he does like he said it's at least 4 times as fast as what it used to be for him to make.
Wow.
Cream. He said because he used to have to stir his buckets different flavors. I think he said 20 minutes a bucket twice a day, and he had like 3 varieties. So it was like 2 hours of his time saved. And meanwhile, he can just make the creamed honey in a big batch and then just add his flavoring in the smaller batch and save himself a bunch of time. So really, he could have he could have a ton of different flavors, whatever you could think of, pumpkin.
So but problem is I could do it all day long. I could mix anything, but in Maryland, cannot sell it without a commercial kitchen license.
I
have to have a physical commercial kitchen in order to do that. Anyway, all right, gentlemen, have a good evening.
Thanks, Jason, have a good night, man.
Yep. See you later.
Night. So yeah. So I'm about as scared as I've ever been in beekeeping.
Oh, you'll be all right.
Well, the main thing is
just make sure you have enough brood, get all that situated, and then.
Well, it's funny because I had the double deep nuke. It had 5 frames of brood in it, slabs. I mean, ready to go, cap brood, and it had uncapped. So,
do you happen to have a queenless hive right now that's pretty good strength?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I have not looked for her. I just look for the brood and put them back in. If I happen to see her, then
because if you need a bank, that's where you should. If you needed to store them for an extra day,
I've actually banked them in a queen ripe colony before. Shake the queen down
below,
brood up, and then put a queen excluder rate, and then put them on top.
Yeah.
But I've never had 54 queens at one time. That's the thing, right? See, I had people message me how much. I'm like, $40. You didn't order 54 queens. I did. It's my money on the line, right? If it dies. So
see, I called him last night and we were talking and stuff, and he was telling me about this new breeder that he got a while back. And howdy.
Long time no see.
And
you'll be okay.
That breeder is producing black queens. And I'm like, oh, I would like to get in on that.
I got 25 of them coming.
Yeah. So when I called him last night, it was dark here. I know it was dark up there. He was putting cells in his nukes in the dark. I'm like, oh, man. That guy works.
That's dedication, man.
All the time. Yeah, he's really good.
I talked to John.
That's why I'll never make it.
I talked to John's wife today at Hooper's Creek Bee Company. He works a full-time job. He's got a bee store. She says sometimes he doesn't come in from the bee yard. Now he's in North Carolina, so sometimes he doesn't get home till 11 or 12 at night out of the bee yard. He's nighttime beekeeping. I'm like, that's dedication there.
Wow. I'll have someone else coming by here in 10 minutes to get their honey. So if you hear
when did you post that up? Is this the first time you've posted it up on there?
No, I've done it. I've done it 3 or 4 other times, but today, for some reason, everybody wants honey. So I'll be selling 17 1-pounders today.
Hey,
$10
that's
a pop.
awesome.
Yeah.
I had one lady come, and this first time, I don't know how they found me other than just driving by, but they always pull up the road in between all the bee colonies around to the back. I'm like, I've got a turnaround right in front of the house, but they come through all my equipment. Then they roll down the window. I'm like, there's like a million bees right there. I mean, it's fine, but I always end up walking around to the front, then back up through the apiary. I got to walk a lap around my house to sell them a bottle of honey. But, it's a good problem to have, I guess. It's money. But he's waiting on.
I got 2 more that just popped in here. Yeah, it's not stopping. It's 8 o'clock.
And you just put that in that Facebook community.
About 9:30 this morning, and the orders just started coming in. A couple people wanted 2, a couple people wanted 1.
I've had people come up and say, I need 13. 1 for me and 12 for the ladies club at church. I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Hey, one lady said, can I share, would you mind if I share this post with the ladies group that I'm in? It's for pregnant moms. I said, absolutely.
But I don't think they'll be able to see it if it's in a group they're not a member of. They would probably have to join that group.
Oh.
Maybe.
Well,
I'm eating Ramen.
My wife's getting me. Bob, I won't tell you what that reminds me of.
I don't want to know.
Similar to a post you put up yesterday.
Hive beetle larva.
Yes, a bowl of hive beetle larvas.
I'd probably prefer them in here than out in my colonies. But it's, hey, we'll just put some brown starfish honey in there and never know the difference.
I felt so stupid when I hear it, when I think it was Brad saying, oh, that's suspect, after I put it in there. And then I looked at the timeline on my phone, and for some reason I was pushed backwards a few minutes, and I thought, oh geez. So I'd already missed it. So when I was listening to type in, hashtag.
Oh, is that what you were doing?
Yeah, because I was in my car delivering honey in the neighborhood, and I don't know how it got stopped, but it did. And then, yeah. So
you know how I know Brad's a good guy? We had, how many people were in there? 5 people. I said an off-color joke. He was the very first person to pick it up. Nobody else caught it, but Brad caught it right away.
I remember that. And
about spicy crab powder.
No,
okay, it was nuclear crabs.
Spicy crabs when I was in the Navy, and also crabs.
I just about had a stroke. That was so funny.
What I caught was when I don't know what was going on, because I had my earpiece in, my phone was in the car. I was walking up to a door, and Brad said, if you're trying to fold that or something, you're folding, it looks like a starfish or something.
It looks like a starfish. I think you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't know how you'd be doing it wrong, but I don't think it's supposed to look like a starfish.
I knew exactly what you guys were talking about at that point.
You know what, though? I'll tell you what. I'm just reading Paul's comment on here. I'm sure Greg and Bruce were glad they weren't on tonight. But you know what? That was a very loose. The show didn't feel uptight to me. Yeah. It was
just wasn't regimented and structured. The way their normal stream is. Which, I mean, if that's their thing, that's fine. They do their thing.
We're the degenerates that hang out over here.
Yeah, we're the degenerates.
That's why
Brian. Brian's awesome. Brian, he's got a great sense of humor. Loves to joke, loves to laugh, so that was really great. I'm glad he did that.
Yeah, I had fun over there. And, Ian's probably sitting back there listening while he's doing some book work or something in the back. When he needs to pop in and, he said he was doing a campfire with the family tonight.
Well, never mind. I'll talk about it. I'll talk about it later.
What? Now you brought it up. You got to bring it up.
All right, it's not bad.
Let
It's
it
not
go,
bad.
Bob.
But
Let it go, Bob.
it's not bad, but I think, you know what, Bob, if you contact Ian and you say, hey, it'd be great if you come on one of these nights, and then if he so happens to pop in, I think if you take down the pin,
Oh, well, I can guarantee you, if Ian pops in, there'll be 6 people that never have popped in before in their life.
And I think I wouldn't be surprised if he, kind of is thinking of that, So I think if you all of a sudden make it, when he pops in, take down the pin, put it back up when he leaves. I wonder if he would,
Oh, he's been on before.
Has he? I don't remember that.
He's been on. He was on with. We had him, we had Brad, we had James, and we had Phil the B-Man on at the same night.
Oh wow!
So
was that your channel or was that Charlie's or?
That was before I started following you guys.
That was a little while ago. That was
yeah,
February or something.
Yeah, it all runs together to me. It was one stream on one night. I don't know, But DC says, yeah, Ian's hung out with us before. We've had Mr. Ed on and Randy.
Oh yeah, I see Ian in the chat quite a bit.
Yeah, I see him in the chats.
Well, we actually made one of his videos. I'm trying to think how he worded it. I was like, wait a minute, did he insult me or did he not insult me? And I was like, well, if I had to think about it, it probably wasn't an insult. But he had our stream on, right? And he's doing his vlog, and our stream's on the screen. He says, yeah, when I'm sitting here, I'm watching. I think it was listening to the banter in the background, right? And I'm like, wait a minute. Usually if someone says like mindless banter or something like that, or, it's a derogatory thing, but I let it go. I called him Justin Bieber at the Hive Life conference. So I think we're even now.
and I think that's why, because he has these things on kind of on the side when he's doing his office work, just for distraction, and that's why he doesn't come on the on
just
the stream.
Something in the background,
but you see him in the comments, right? Because
mm-hmm.
he'll just jump in the comments from now and again, but it's because he's doing something else.
And if he's listening right now, Ian, I was not trying to insult you whatsoever. I was thinking maybe, he wanted to have it a little more private. So
I don't insult very easily. I've got pretty thick skin, as you know, by our VIP sessions at the end.
That was for Ian, not for you.
Right. Oh, I could have insulted Ian.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean
God's not worried about insulting you.
Yeah. He's a lot taller in person than you would think he would be from watching his YouTube video.
Ian?
Yeah, he's tall as I am.
Uh-oh, I got a delivery.
Yeah, he's a pretty slender guy, in my world.
He's half the man you are, literally.
Well, physically, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I never really thought about it, but he's 6 foot 6'1" or something, maybe more.
I'm saying he's probably 6'1 and a half, 6'2".
He's definitely he's not short by any means.
He's a strapping young lad.
He is a strapping young lad.
It's like Mark Miller. He's on a lot, but works while working. Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
I appreciate the fact that he wastes his time on us.
Wastes his time on us. Yeah. Yeah, he likes this chat because there's a lot of unrelated banter, but we do talk bees once in a while, right?
Do you see that? All the good chats happen on Lee's. That's because you don't come in on Lee's. Brian, blacklist.
Block.
Yeah, block. That's
how come I can't find Bob's channel anymore? How come did Bob take his channel down? I can't find it.
The late show. Look at that. There's Gunline. I thought you'd be in bed already.
Hey, Tim.
But let's get back to bees. But
Let's get back.
that method for splitting bees is I think now it's like the only way. I mean, it's not the.
Dumb it down for me. Explain it to me exactly what you did there.
So
I mean, I know you sent me the video, but
yeah, so they were in. I had triple nukes, right? 3 nukes tall. So or 3
which are
5
what?
frame.
4 frame?
No,
5 frame? Okay.
So that's 15 frames. And all I really did is I had frames, right? Drawn comb. So I was pulling the brood, anything with brood on it, shaking the bees to the bottom, putting drawn comb in the bottom to replace them. And that because I shook all the bees off, now I put a queen excluder on it. I take all of that brood into a second box, right? The second deep, put it on top, put the lid on it. All the bees come up through the excluder and cover the brood. And then when you go back, you can just pluck them out.
Yeah.
And put them.
Yeah, and they're mostly nurse bees, so
Yeah.
they're going to stay there. So how many frames of brood would you have in that box then when you're done?
I would say out of that particular one I'm thinking about, the first one I did probably had 8 frames of brood in it.
Or you take all of that for your splits?
Well, I haven't made any splits yet. I've only brought it up. So now the queen's in the bottom got fresh comb that she can lay in. So hopefully she goes to town laying in there.
Should.
So we're gonna.
I'm just wondering, like, when I do it, and this is a different circumstance, so I'm not saying it's wrong. I may have, if I had 8 frames of brood in the bottom box, I might take, I'll kind of decide how many splits is this colony going to yield, right? Is it going to yield 1? If I have 3 frames or 4 frames of brood, then it'll yield 1 split. If it has 6 frames of brood, it might yield 2 splits, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And then I'll pull the brood up that I actually want to take away. Because even though she may hit the ground running and lay those new combs up, that's 3 weeks of bees dying. Right. And no replacements. So that's what I was just asking. Like, are you planning then to?
Well, that is also my spicy colonies. So
take a frame or 2 and put it back in the bottom, or like I just wondered what you're.
I actually did leave 1 down there in the bottom and the rest of them up top. However, that is the colonies that I was looking to call the queen anyway. So that may get entirely divided up into nuke boxes and utilize the new queens and crush the mean bitch that's in there right now. And
take that old queen out. Yeah.
And I've only done 2 colonies. I've got 50 to work with, right? So I can even if I can get 2 frames of brood, frame of food, queen, should be good to go. Hopefully, knock on wood. We'll see.
So what are they going into? Going into a 5 frame box?
Yep. So I cleaned out all my 5 framers. Well, I got 2 5 framers to put into 10 frame boxes. But other than that, everything is in 10 framers now. I've reduced all the bees down into the 10 frame box. So they're kind of packed in there right now, right? So
but your splits, when you pull your splits,
then you're going into 5 framers first.
Yeah.
And replace any queens that need to be replaced in my 10 framers, my production colonies. And then any leftover queens that I absolutely don't have anywhere else for them to go, then I'm going to start doing 2 framers. And hopefully it sells some. And that'll be the easiest place to go get them, right? If I sell a queen, go to a 2 framer, pull it up, and just see how it goes. Don't know. I mean, I wasn't expecting to see, in 10 frames of bees, I wasn't expecting to see brood on that many frames, right? and they sure did. They had tons of bees. And now, like I said, the flow, our fall flow is kind of starting to pick up. First time I've seen pollen coming in, so in a while. So it might work out great, might not work out great. I don't have 50 nuke boxes. I wish I did, but
Yeah. Well, it's trying those things, and sometimes you try things when you're naive, and they work out, and it's something that you use.
You just call me naive.
Case in point.
Call me naive. You hear that?
Oh, well, what I mean is that
That's
you're naive, that you don't know that it's
right.
a
It's not a
proven
predicted
thing. Like
outcome.
you have to prove
Right.
it to yourself. Yeah,
It's a gamble.
I was naive. A little story from my second year, but it was really still kind of my first year because I had overwintered 10 colonies, and then I was coming into May and early June, and I made all of these. I made 28 one-frame splits. So I had one frame of brood and bees and a cage mated queen, and
And
made
what
a
time of year
colony.
was it?
I did. I was like 5th of June.
But that they can't hit critical mass, right? Because she can only lay what she's got.
No,
bees to cover.
and they didn't. No, and they didn't. But what I did learn was what was possible. Every one of those colonies wintered on 20 frames, so double deeps, and they all wintered 100%. I had still the 28 in the spring. So that just showed me what was possible. Yeah, and the big problem was if I'd have put those in like a 6-frame nuke or even in a 10-frame single, they would have made me a little bit of honey, but they never did make me any honey. So just as a new beekeeper, I'm just learning, how this goes. And so I've been a big fan of the 1-frame splits because boy, you can make a lot of those.
Well, see,
but I'll just make them earlier and leave them in a smaller box.
And see, with the 2-frame boxes that I have, I've got 30 of them. So I have, and they're all empty right now. I've got room to put them. The only problem is packing them with enough bees to where they won't want to do a late season type of swarm because they're so jammed up. If you watch Barnyard Bees ever, he says, "Oh, you can just do this and they'll they'll overwinter fine in these things." Well, they could, or they might not. You just don't know. So
I've wintered 3 framers.
So just got to keep the feed on.
I haven't wintered lots and lots of them, but I have wintered them, so I know it can work. And no, I didn't feed them at all. I treated them exactly the same as I treat all my colonies. I fed them enough for them to fill that 3-frame hive full of feed. So it was 3 solid frames of syrup cured. And they wintered fairly well. And it came out in the spring. And of course, it's just wintering queens really at that level. So then I had some queens in the spring.
Which is kind of what I was.
That's why, like this winter, I might end up wintering 4-framers because I got so many queens now, and I don't have enough 6-frame equipment that I want to use.
Right. That's where I'm at. I didn't want to buy a ton. If I'm going to buy equipment at this point, I want it to be 10-frame deep equipment. So I need to get my bees to the 10-frame deep equipment stage, right? and then work it up that way. I'm trying to get rid of
here's some irony in thinking about my situation with my 6s, wanting more 6s to winter. Equipment. I was thinking, I made a bunch of 3-way pallets for Ian to put his 6-frame boxes on. And so I'm thinking those older pallets that he was using was just a 6-frame bottom board screwed to the pallet. So I'm thinking, I wonder if he's kind of replacing those and decommissioning them and whatnot. So I messaged him up and I said, "You got any of those bottom boards left?" He says, "Oh yeah." So I'm thinking, I just go and get some of the bottom boards that he's freed up, and then I can use up some more of my 6-frame boxes without having to, because I don't have time to build pallets and have them dipped and all that kind of stuff.
What I've done
So
in the past,
the irony is me building him that equipment is freed up equipment that I can get to solve my problem.
I have in the past, I have taken just a piece of plywood and laid it out and set the boxes directly on them with no bottom board. But of course, they got to have a disc on the front, right? Like yours are behind you there.
You just drill a hole in there.
Just drill a hole straight in the box, and
yeah.
And then later on, I need 20 bottom boards, and get the bottom boards or make the bottom boards, and then just lift the box up, put the bottom board on, and put it back down.
Yeah. I think I'll get some of those 6s from him because I think it would be handy for me to have be able to use those 6-frame boxes independently so that I can move them around independently and whatnot instead of always have a pallet.
Right.
For example, these 4s, okay, these little 4s, when they grow up, I want to put them in 6s. So wouldn't that be nice to just bring a bottom board, set it here, put a 6-frame box, transfer those frames, 2 more frames, Bob's your uncle, instead of have to bring a pallet over,
right?
And now I've got to do all 3 here, and put a pallet there or something. It's not as flexible. So if I had some of those bottom boards, then I could more easily do that, and then all I have to do is just run that into the fall or until the weather permits, and then as soon as I get a couple of days of no flight weather, then I come out here, I grab that thing, take it over, dump it onto a pallet over to where I want it, because I want it on a pallet for wintering. Or if I don't have enough pallets, that's fine. I'll leave those 6s. I could leave those 6s right on this full skid and winter 6 of those on that skid for that winter, just as a stopgap until I get more equipment. So I think I'm going to get some of those.
That sounds like it'll work out well for you. I mean, my whole system is modular, right? I mean, I can just, except for the mediums, but I can just move stuff around.
Sometimes the pallet system, like that's why, when I started beekeeping, watching Michael Palmer videos and stuff, I thought, yeah, these double 5s, these really make a lot of sense. So I built a whole bunch of these double 5s. I think I built 40 of them or something. So I had 80 nukes capacity in that. And, I used those. And then I built 3-way mating nukes. So it's three framers in one box with 2 dividers. I built quad minis. So I took a medium and I divided it into 4 sections and made 4 mini nukes in there. And what I learned was I really hate that stuff. I really hate having beehives hooked together, right? These little guys, these little 4s that I set up, I'm completely in love with these things. I can pick that up. I can move it anywhere I want. I can carry it around the yard. It's light enough, small enough, very portable. And I have the entrance disc, so I can close that off and then take them for their mind-altering, clear their memory kind of thing, so I can move them somewhere else in the apiary.
You just need to get you one of those things like
I was just thinking that the Men in Black just get it blink, 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 and then they forget where they live. So I went through that progression that I'm done with, multiple section boxes that have multiple sections in one box. Now my pallet system inherently has that problem because now I'm always 2 full colonies are together or 3 nukes are always together. all that kind of stuff. So that is still a little bit inconvenient. But because of I do what I do, move my bees, store them indoors, all that kind of stuff, it kind of has to be that way.
Does
So if I had some bottom boards I can use when I want to move these things around, then I think that would really work for
have
me.
you seen? I know Man Lake sells them. The follower boards. You've seen them, Todd? Have you used them?
I made one. They work, but I don't use them anymore. I just tried them out. So
So you just put that board in there, make a 10-frame box into a 4-frame box kind of thing,
Or you can actually
and then
slide
you
it
can
as they
expand it
grow.
later on.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
for
just like
sure.
like a
That's like
horizontal.
it's like a top bar. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, horizontal. Yeah.
But does it effectively keep
Why
the
not?
bees from one side to the other?
Mine did, but the problem was, I think, is that the other side of the box got real cold, and they didn't like that. They couldn't control the heat on that side, and they struggled. So, I mean, they made it through winter, but they dissolved after a little short time after they came out, and they just couldn't grow in there or couldn't maintain.
That's an interesting idea right there.
But I'll tell you what, if you go to I bought one at or not bought one, I saw one at Dayton, and I thought, well, I'll just make that because I'm not going to spend $5 on a piece of wood. You know, it's scrap. I could go find it and measure everything out. I don't. They get a lot of money for that. $5 a board. It's crazy.
$5 for one?
Yeah, I think it's even more now. I think it was $5.20 last time I looked at it, which 4 or 5 years ago.
I'm just thinking as far as if I split these colonies down and they have too much space, a way to condense them within the box they're already in. I've seen people use like the 2-inch styrofoam and cut that to fit down in the box and stuff like that.
And I tried that too. If you do that, you need to put masking tape on it or they will chew through it.
I gotcha.
Or duct tape, not masking tape.
Or
you put duct tape on it, they hate it. Yeah, they won't touch it.
I've painted it with a good latex paint, and that prevents them from chewing it.
I'll tell you what, my Lyson hive, I had the, that comes with the plastic entrance reducer, little control thing. And I had that in there, but it was fully open, but it just had the little, a bunch of little holes for them to go through, like a comb, basically, right? You know what those girls did? They chewed out underneath and they rounded underneath so they could just go right underneath it. And I was like, okay, well, that thing was useless.
If you do want to use that following board or follower board for that empty space on the other side, I highly suggest putting something in there, like maybe shoving a burlap or something in there, just so it's not a cold space or really cold space. And then the other thing is, if you do happen to use styrofoam or that insulated stuff, and you do wrap it with duct tape, make sure that you take into consideration the thickness of the duct tape. Ask me how I know, because I tried shoving that thing in there and it was too thick. Oh, and I'd spend all this time putting that stupid duct tape on it.
Then you have to shave it off.
I had to take it all off, and then I had to shave it down and then put it back on. It was a pain in the butt.
I should just call Sam and say, hey, Sam, how many empty nuke boxes do you have that I can borrow for a little while?
Yeah, hey, you can do that.
Go get a truck. Or, hey, where can we set up these nuke boxes so we can make splits in your yard with all these queens that I've got?
Are there some current home building around your place, Bob?
Oh, yeah, they're building subdivisions right around me there.
Do they skin the outside of the house with that 2-inch foam?
Oh, no, not usually here.
Okay. Because they do around here. So, they cut sheets, big enough to make a frame dimension. They throw it on the ground, so I just go by. I was going by after work and measuring and taking the piece.
See, Hector came to work the next day and he's like, "Where's this piece I left right here? I got to place
it. It was on a trash pile. I made sure of that. I guarantee you, there's guys that, hey, there's a bunch of lumber laying there, at midnight or something. They're not using it, so they take it.
Yeah, I just had to cut the banding on the lift, and it was just sitting there, outside. Right? That's all I had to do.
It was free. I thought this was the trash pile.
Sure. Yeah.
Here's what I'm working with.
We could send Alex down with the Malibu and have him strap it to the lid.
You could load that up.
So
I like that.
Nice.
Then I don't know if you could see. I don't have wait a minute. It's not very dark.
That looks just like my honey.
Mine too.
Like that.
Pretty clear.
That's very nice.
It's tasty. And now I know why that it's been so popular today. Because I just looked on Facebook when you guys were.
You're $2 cheaper than everybody else.
No. That I looked on the original post because everybody's been messaging me on Messenger, and I haven't looked at the post. There's been a couple people that have put on the post that this is excellent honey. You won't be sorry you bought it, and so that started this morning, and since then,
excellent.
So I'm like, hey, great. They'll find another bottle of honey on their doorstep, extra for sponsoring it, or
you got to reward that.
Yeah,
for sure.
You just message that person that did that and say, hey, when you get a chance, I appreciate your post. Swing by and I'll give you a bottle of honey.
Yeah, I did something similar on that. I sent them a message.
Well, I ordered some of that Reaper powder. So, I mean, I really want this Reaper honey to be disgustingly hot. Like, why would I buy this hot? Right? That's the goal on that.
Yeah.
And it's not about the flavor of that honey. It's about the heat. That's it. Just straight fire.
Well, that's what will happen the next day too.
Yep. The brown starfish will be screaming.
Oh, dear.
The brown starfish flamethrower.
Let me see.
Hey, that could be one of your flavors of honey, Bob.
What's that? Mine could be
brown starfish.
It is that dark.
The flaming brown starfish.
There you go.
The flaming. Actually, I should just take the whole bucket down to our hot sauce company over there and let them sell it to them. Well, now I wouldn't make the profit if I sold it to them, and because they would bottle it. But I might become their honey supplier. You never know. And then it would be like, hey, we'll buy all your honey. Well, I wouldn't, I don't know if I'd get away with that, but do a live. I don't even know.
You guys ever sell chunk honey?
I have. Usually when I get a blowout in the flame or something.
I've had people ask.
Yeah.
Usually what I do is if I got a frame, I make my comb honey. If I have, and I don't make it that often, then whatever the scraps are of that goes in a jar with honey in it, and then it's chunk.
What about you, Brad? You do?
Yeah. Well, I have, and that's kind of exactly what I've done is when I'm cutting up my comb honey, just the pieces on the end that are nice honeycomb, but they're only about an inch wide or something. Then I'll just slide that in a kg jar, which is just over 2 pounds, and fill it with honey. And whenever I did that, I take it to a market that we'd be doing in the near future, and it sells like hotcakes.
Oh, wow.
But then again, I sell it for the same price as regular jar honey, so I don't ask a premium for it. It sells right away. The thing I don't like about it is then when the honey granulates,
It's stuck. Oh yeah, I saw that at the grocery store. Our local company is selling chunk honey in the grocery store.
Yeah.
And they don't come and check the honey, right? They don't come in.
Yeah.
So you got a shelf full of crystallized honey in there with comb in it. I'm like, oh, that looks delicious.
Well,
then you can charge even more. Then it's creamed
honey with honeycomb. Yeah. So yeah, and then, I tried to gently warm it, but you can't. The comb just kind of gets soft, and it just kind of goes bloop right to the top, and it's this little pancake of wax on the, So then what do? You have to open the jar and fish it out, and then you have to refill the jar, and so I kind of stopped doing it.
Yeah,
it's a fun product though. People see that, they think, wow, that's so they really like it.
Well, that's like the disclaimer. You must use this honey quickly, or it'll be solid in the jar.
Yeah. Might be better in a 1 pound jar, so they use it up.
I'm debating on whether to go to glass next year, just for that reason, because it's so much easier for them to warm up the jar than it is to warm up a plastic bottle.
I've warmed those plastic bottles that you're using, and they are tough. You don't want to put them in a microwave, because you get hot spots and they melt.
Yeah.
Right? But in the oven, I've warmed those very successfully.
Holy cow.
In the oven. I'll run that 150 in the oven.
Wow.
Have you ever tried it?
No, I don't. I don't want to put plastic in the oven.
No, I'm serious. Try it. They're remarkable. Those are the Man Lake squeezable plastics, right?
Well, no, I got them from Gamber, but I'm sure Man Lake gets them from Gamber.
Okay. Yeah. No, try it. Like, just put one in there and try it. Yeah. I'll guarantee you. I put it on a cookie sheet. I have a great big cookie sheet. So put that cookie sheet in the center of the oven, put the honey on there, turn that on to 150, and they'll warm her right up. I've never ruined one.
People love this flip top, right? But with the glass jar, you got to unscrew it, and you got to dip a knife or a spoon or a dipper in there, and
no, I'll guarantee that's the same jar. I've warmed hundreds of those.
Okay, 150 is the max, huh?
Well, I run a 150, but a long time. I run 150 for 6 hours.
Oh, you know what though? You could also have an old fridge and set up the light bulbs in the old fridge and leave them in there too. Like a bunch of guys.
Well, I've done it in the oven with the light on.
I find that the difference between that is that the oven comes up to temperature fast.
Yeah.
So something that just has a light bulb, because I've got a warmer that has light bulb and stuff, and I've done it in there too. But it comes up to temperature really slow. So then that temperature transition, I find that getting that temperature up fast and fairly high, like not gentle, like give her, and then just get it done. It's liquid, and take it out and let it cool. Seems to really, not damage the honey.
I'll give it a shot this year. It's going to be several months before I can try it, but I'll try it.
Yeah, try it out. You'll be surprised. I think you'll be surprised what those plastic bottles will take.
But I'd rather do plastic, but just the glass effect would be, a lot easier to decrystallize.
Yeah, I find that those jars specifically, the glass kind of has the same problem, but those jars specifically, especially if I fill them a little too much, then when you get the honey warm like that, it does expand, and it'll push out the top, and it's just a mess. Then it's not it's not the end of it. It's just a huge mess.
Yeah, well, that's why the cookie sheet's there, right?
Yeah, the cookie
Or
sheet.
you mean
and-
out of the oven? When it comes out of the oven, it's still expanding?
oh no, I'll open the oven and take the cookie sheet out, and there's honey everywhere. And then I just run the bottle under warm water to rinse off the honey. That's all. I don't do those much anymore. It's just been too much of a hassle to get those bottles, and the fact that I've never found a really good source for that kind of a bottle in Canada, and the trouble I have is I can't sell that in a retail uh, situation because I can only get, you see 100 or 1 pound is 454 grams.
Mm-hmm.
And try as I might, I can't get more than about 460 grams, 465 grams in that bottle. And when you're selling honey in a retail setting in Canada, they regulate the size of the container. It has to be 500 grams. So that container is not big enough for me to sell in a retail setting, which kind of is limiting to me,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I need to find somehow in Canada a container that will hold 500 grams of honey. And I haven't I know they exist, but I haven't found a source for it. So that's my difficulty with those things. They're popular. People love them.
Yeah.
Make good money on them.
Just need to go to the plant and make them. You be the guy. You be shipping bottles all over Canada.
You know, have you tried calling Gamber? They're down in they're in Pennsylvania, right, Bob?
Yeah, Pennsylvania.
Calling Gamber and asking them if they know of any container companies that might have something like that in Canada. I bet those guys would know. I don't know.
There's so many things ahead of that on the priority list is all.
Yeah.
You know, I've
Same
got to
here.
come to Bob's live streams. I've got
Every single night of the week.
Every single night of the week. I don't
Speaking
come
of-
every night, do I?
No, but I do. Mostly.
You do.
If Brian would not have went live, because I saw a post saying there would be no live stream this week, and then he came on last night, and I said, well, if you're not going live, then I will. And then all of a sudden today I saw a post, oh yeah, I'm gonna go on and open it up. I'm like, okay, great. So, and then you messaged me, oh yeah, Ian and I are invited on. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, he told me he was opening up, but he didn't invite me to come in the stream. But
maybe he was just fishing. He wanted to get the big guy on to draw a crowd.
well,
I was just the opening act.
the opening. Well, it's a. I tell you what, it is 11:39 here. I'm going to go ahead and end the live portion of this test, and we're going to go into the composition phase where you guys have to mail in the assignment for grading. and we're gonna call this for tonight, and I guess we'll probably hang out for a few minutes, and we'll see you guys on the next stream. Charlie is having the 4-H club there Friday night on his channel.
That'll be interesting.
So yeah, I might not be able to go in, man. My language might be too
Yeah, you gotta watch it.
Too spicy. Spicy crabs. So anyway, guys, y'all have a good night, and we'll talk to you on the next stream.
See you guys later.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
And just like that,